All right, folks, the Mandami AOC anti-Semitic tail is now wagging the entire Democratic Party dog, and that's the subject of the riff. So days after the Mandami DSA socialist or communist victories in New York City, there was all manner of punditry speculation about a populist revolt or the breakdown of conventional political organizations, I guess in this case the Democratic Party, economic worries about affordability, and probably other factors that undoubtedly all have some merit. But to me, and I want to be very clear about this, the single strongest animating factor that unites this Mandami socialist movement is anti-Semitism, a hatred of Jewish people, and a desire to eliminate and destroy the state of Israel. Just look at any of these socialist mayors and their fellow travelers. In New York, of course, but don't forget LA, or Seattle, or Chicago, the odd Senate race in Maine, the other crackpot Senate candidate in Michigan. You'll find a constant refrain attacking Israel, trying to explain away the horrific, barbaric slaughter in Israel on October 7, 2023, even defending Hamas, who made the slaughter. This Chevalier woman here in New York, organizing a pro-Palestine rally at Columbia University the very day after the horrific Israeli bombing by Hamas. Just scroll through their tweets and their other communications, and you'll see constant references against Jews, against Israel, in favor of Hamas or any of the anti-Israeli terrorist groups, somehow all in the name of Palestine, which is actually a place that exists only in the imagination of these far-left radicals. How ironic that Israel itself enjoys commercial, trading, and business, even governance, with large parts of Palestine and the Arab communities who are on the West Bank. All this unbeknownst to these crazy American anti-Semites. And they'd rather talk about all that than anything positive ever about America. Indeed, whether it's wiping their hands on the American flag, or blaming America for 9/11, or denying Holocaust standards, or arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. You could almost say anti-Semitism is not only the animating force behind these Mandami socialism, it's almost the only force. But on the economic side, there is an aha moment. Sure, the latest agenda published by the National DSA includes abolishing the U.S. Senate, defunding the military, open borders, universal amnesty for illegal immigrants, national takeover of large corporations, defunding the police, free government everything, including all health care and including abortions, voting rights for criminals, confiscatory taxation of wealth and income, penalizing businesses wherever possible, stacking the Supreme Court. So, as President Trump said, it's hard to know if this is socialism or communism or whatever. Take a listen.
They're going radical left. They're going really, you talk about the Democrat socialists. It's really communist. That's these people. I watched that woman last night. That's not a socialist. I know socialists. That woman is a communist.
Well, whatever ism, I know one. It is anti-Semitism. And thus far, we are seeing virtually nothing from men and women of goodwill in politics or business or anywhere who have the courage to stand up to this anti-Semitism. It will presumably be up to the Republicans this autumn in the midterm elections to draw a very clear contrast with this new Mandami AOC socialist tail that is suddenly wagging the entire Democratic Party dog. But it will not be sufficient to merely disagree on their crazy economics or their border or their security or their hatred of our military. The issue of hate and bigotry of any kind, and yes, of course, anti-Semitism, must be ended. Full stop. All right, that's my riff.